Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Game Society. I call this Has Chip Theory Games Gone Too Far? The Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era is a co-op adventure set during Tamriel's Second Era, specifically during the events of the Plane Mold, as an Order of the Black Worm plots to secure the Amulet of Kings as the dark cult schemes. However, one of its members is planning an even darker betrayal, one that will tie Tamriel in with oblivion forever. Like Too Many Bones?
No, not like Too Many Bones. How many times do I and Chip Theory Games have to tell you it's not like Too Many Bones? So now where was I? Hey!
Has Chip Theory Games gone too far? We're about to find out.
But before we get into how the game plays, let's go ahead and take a look at all the components. 4 adventure mats, a 19 hex tile, double-sided clash tile, entrance tile, 3 3-hex tiles, 3 6-hex tiles, 3 7-hex tiles, partridge in a pear tree, 17 adventure mat pegs, and 17 upgraded adventure mat pegs, which look similar and almost feel the same. They have chrome shininess to them. 16 stat tokens, 3 double-sided maps, 2 enemy reference sheets, 20 adventurer chips, 25 level 1 and 5 enemy chips, 25 level 10 and 20 enemy chips, 15 quest unit chips, 2 companion chips, a real companion, 1 first player token, 1 upgraded first player token ring toy thingy, 2 turtle doves, 6 cash chips, day and experience chips, 90 HP chips, 90 upgraded HP chips, 1 bag of chips, 20 skill line tokens, 8 overland map tokens, 48 stat tokens, 96 skill dice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 96, 20 fatigue dice, 12 over fatigue dice, 14 combat dice, 6 enemy combat dice, 1 round counter die, 1 upgraded metal round counter die, 12 status dice, 3 lockpicking dice, locks, stable die, 100 overland cards, 65 delve cards, 110 common item cards, other companion, 50 legendary item cards, 9 guild cards, a cock-a-doodle-boo, 30 side quests, 5 card dividers, 24 skill line reference sheets, 20 race sheets, 15 class sheets, 5 gazetteers, 1 how to pack your box sheet. Wait, why would anyone need this? A tutorial guidebook, a rulebook, a campaign journal, 1 XP day dial tracker. Before we go any further, I have to show you this. You guys don't know how really awesome this is. 3 dice bags, 2 upgraded dice bags. Wait, where's my third one? Chip Theory Games. And by upgraded, they're all really, really nice. 3 chip token trays, a token tray, 5 dice trays, 4 game save state trays, 1 neoprene mat tray, 1 baking pan tray, 1 card tray, 1 playing card box, 1 long card box. That's long. Whoa. What are you doing? I'm about to play Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. It's waterproof. Don't you see I was about to play Too Many Bones? Alright, now that we've gone through the heaving piles of components, before we set up, I have to get one last thing. This is not what you think it is, as I first thought it was. This is not a rocket launcher. It is not a gag gift, one of those big lawn chairs that you get for your dad on their birthday. And it's definitely not a giant golf club for a giant. This is the playmat for the game. I'm not gonna lie, when I first rolled this out, I thought this thing was ridiculous and inefficient. It even has its own instruction sheet right here. Let's find out how inefficient and ridiculous this really is. Skill sheets, race sheets, player mats, class sheets, player items, set aside enemy chips and cash chips, token tray, map, chip trays, all the hex tile mats, day and XP tracker, the rest of the chips, card tray, draw bags, dice trays. Uh-oh. I knew it! I gotcha! You have 5 dice trays, and there's not enough space in this playmat to fit them all. Wait, what? What do you mean read the sheet? I did read the sheet. We just went through it. Dice trays stacked. Game setup. Recommended play area is 3 feet by 4 feet. They're not really good at measuring long things, are they? I'm not going to lie. This is very, very good. Now that we're set up, time to make some characters. We can make a Khajiit stealth archer, a wood elf stealth archer, a red guard stealth archer, an imperial one-hand and stealth archer. Does anyone really play this game without stealth archer? Now there's 2 ways to make a character. The first is to do your classic fantasy prison jailbreak scenario, but I didn't like that part. Here's why. First, you have to dig through this bag of enemy chips. You're looking for 5 specific ones. This won't even matter after this prison break because then you're going to have to reset the chips into the bag with the area you're playing. But the achievement list is in the rulebook, and you can either mark your rulebook one time or go ahead and print more. Therefore, the achievement sheet, which is supposed to get you immersed into feeling like you're playing the video game, you're now at your printer getting the sheets and you're unimmersed, immersed, not immersed. All of this just to tell you what classes you can pick. I see what you did there. You're trying to stop me from playing Stealth Archer. I used the jailbreak scenario for the first time I played the game, but any future plays, I'm just going to jump right into making a character. Building the character was such a blast. I loved every second of it. I felt like the character was mine, and I did not feel like I was on any kind of rails. My first character was this Khajiit right here, so I picked this bow skill line right over here, and you put the chip right here. Up here, you have your different battle stances that you switch forms, your experience right here, you got your health, you have your little stamina tokens, which is really nice because I'm red-green colorblind, but they have these little arrows to point towards it if you have similar colors in the same skill line like this. And then there's also Magicka points right here, but this right down here is the coolest part to the board game. This is your cooldown track. This thing is really cool because when you start taking your dice and using them and exhausting them, they will end up going down in skill down track right over here. You want to take another engage action? All right, go ahead and grab some light fatigue, but now it's going to take longer to get these dice back. And at the beginning of the turn, depending on how much cooldown stat you have, that's how many dice come back into your skill sheets over here. This is like a train of doom and glory all in one. When you have something you like in there, let's say like this little defensive shield from the heavy armor, you're going to get a bonus armor each turn. But you go ahead and an enemy gives you a Bane status, you're going to have to wait till that goes away or you're going to start taking damage. You want to keep taking engage actions for your turn? All right, keep stacking up the light stamina. keep rolling your dice and keep on going. But the problem is when you're full up over here and you now start receiving fatigue, you start getting these over fatigue dice, which now drain these dice over here, and you're going to have to recover them a different way. You won't have them for the rest of the battle. This mechanic is not only fun to interact with and complex, it's very thematic to the video game. I don't think there's a better way to represent cooldown in a board game that I've seen yet. Now, I haven't mentioned this last part of the player mat. This is your tenacity. What's really cool about this is you get to pick a class at the beginning of the game, and then when you end up rolling these misses, you end up getting this tenacity stat over here. You build it up.
Like Too Many Bones?
No, not like Too Many Bones. All right, so where was I? So when you go ahead and you roll these bones right here, you then can get your tenacity stat up, and then you get to go ahead and use them on these abilities. Like the Caltraps ability right here, where you get to move up 3 spaces and make enemies chuck dice at themselves. It's never 2 when they're hitting themselves, but 2 is when they hit me, of course. Or how about the time where I was playing my red guard next to this enemy with 6 health and 2 armor, and I needed to do 8 damage, and I used my bewitched sugar skulls to then get 6 bonus HP to have 8 bonus HP, use 3 tenacity to do solar flare to knock them out. Or the time I realized I can switch over to battle stance, get a light fatigue for that, and then go ahead and use luminous shards on all these Daedra near me and blast them with some combat dice. I can't overstate enough how fun these characters are. Cracky voice. I can't explain really how fun these characters are. Even though you're playing a tactics game where you get like 1 move and 1 engage, I felt like the class, all these skill dice, my actual ability here, I felt like it was like a fluid adventure, a fluid action game where I had a lot of options to move around the map, blast enemies, and chuck some dice in the meantime. Chip Theory Games does a really good job at making annoying enemies. Let's see what we get. Stalwart. Oh, all right. We also have Elusive. Come on. Necromancy. So annoying. How about this? Steel? You're done recording, right? Okay, cool. Yeah, we're not going to deal with that one. But more importantly, they also give you the tools to defeat them. Like how you can use the Caltrap skill earlier I talked about, where you can move up, attack an enemy, make them ignore their own skills, and chuck some dice at them. Take that, Stalwart. How you can use acrobatics to get a movement at the beginning of your turn, and since it's still the beginning, Elusive is allowed to be hit now, so you can go ahead and chuck some dice on them as well. Or for that Necromancer that has 10 billion health, you can go ahead and use your Wall of Elements right here to place this on there. He gets fear, and today's problem is tomorrow's problem. But tomorrow's problem is solved now. Here's how to play in very simple terms. First, you uptick the day marker by 1 day. Give me a second. Then move your overland marker up to 3 spaces and resolve events right here. Draw your card according to the map and resolve it. Get your rewards and items for your events. Right here, we get 1 experience. So let's go ahead and resolve that. Then you rest for the day, get rid of a die from your cooldown track, and then get 1 more health. That's the end of a round. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. The rulebook is 97 pages and breaks down all of these steps even further, but we'll get back to this later. I'm a Virgo. Now 50% of you just groaned, 50% of you just rejoiced, and 50% of you just clicked off this video because I mentioned zodiac signs. What being a Virgo is means we can find a flaw in the flawless, a scratch in the scratchless, and a ding in the dingless. We don't do this out of spite. We do this out of perfection, especially when the perfection is just so close here. We'll start with this rulebook. It's over 90 pages, but it's actually weird because it's quite good. They have a lot of examples. They have everything categorized, language, everything is in these nice little boxes, even example turns. They have an index. This is all great, but I want to give you an example of when I was playing. So I went with my red guard. I had this iron greatsword. Awesome. I get to add 3 enemy combat dice to my roll, to my engage this turn. And I also had this Glyph of Crushing, which says if I am in 1 hand or the 2-handed battle stance, I can then, before rolling, change all combat skill dice to a 1. So here's the problem. Our combat enemy skill dice, combat dice. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rules. The first thing that I did was go all the way to the index. So I turned all the way to the back right here, but it's pretty big, so I'm not even sure where to start. So then I actually go to the front part of the book, the components, to see what they're labeled. I take a look and I see these are combat skill dice, enemy combat dice. So then I go back to the index to see enemy combat dice. Here's the problem already. I see enemy, defeat, movement, turn, type, pool. I don't see enemy combat dice. So now we're kind of stuck. Let's go ahead and back to the drawing board. So now I'm just flipping randomly through the book, looking for something that makes sense. Let's go ahead and go to combats. Let's go over here. I see enemy turns, preventing damage, rolling dice, struggling to find it, right? I go back over here and I'm just going to start reading every single thing on here until I see something that pops out. Eventually, right over here, I see combat skill line, enemy dice, 55 and 60. So I go to 55 first. I'm scouring this whole page. I don't see anything too useful, so I'm going to go ahead and go to 60. And then when I finally get to 60, I'm reading all of this. This has taken like 10, 15 minutes at this point. I finally see right over here, if an ability adds free combat dice, enemy combat dice are used instead of combat skill dice. These dice do not count against your stamina or magic, but are treated as combat dice for other effects. Woo! Going through a whole book like this for a one-liner can be frustrating. So while I know the rules are in here, sometimes just with this many pages, it's hard to fish out. All right, so bear with me. This example that I had, I changed a couple of things. So it was my Khajiit's turn right here. At the start of the turn, I had acrobatics in my cooldown track, but at first I thought that I would recover that and not get the effects of using this. This lets you move for free, not as an action at the beginning of your turn. So I go ahead and finally find on this combat sheet right here that number 1, turn breakdown, start of turn. Great, cool. I get to move my 5 spaces, right? So we are moving 1, 2, 3. This right here was a special chip for the quest. This one specifically says that after you successfully lockpick it, you put it under your character, and then during your move actions, including the one that went onto this, you get 2 additional movements. But here's the problem. Well, here's a couple problems. The first thing is I used my acrobatics, which is a free move, not an action, to go onto this space. I then used my Khajiit's ability right here to get a free lockpick. So I pass that test. Then I get to move up to 5 hexes. So at this point, do I get 5 more additional hexes in addition to the 5 that I got right here? Do I add them up? Also, do I get the 2 extra movement during these moves or no? Because the quest guide only said during move actions, and these are both not actions. You can see how this can become quite a headache right here. I totally didn't make this whole long video review just to get a response on my rules question. Then there was another scenario where a doozy came up. It was the first time I actually gave an enemy fear. I was like, oh, awesome, cool. Let's see what it does. We have a reference sheet, which is really nice. Fear. The effects of this unit's non-combat skills are ignored. I was like, non-combat skills? So here's the sheet of all the enemy skills right here and right here. And I'm trying to figure out which ones are combat, right? And which ones are non-combat. It says enemy skills reference right there. So I'm looking at this. I'm like, oh, this character has detection. Is that a combat skill? Retreat, combat skill? I'm like, how do I know? So I end up scouring this whole rule book. I spent so much time trying to figure out what an enemy non-combat skill is. And I eventually just gave up and then looked up on the FAQ. Fear. Non-combat skills are skills except the combat skill line. When fear refers to non-combat skills, it's referring to all skills except the skill line called combat that all adventurers have by default. So an enemy with fear ignores all of its skills. Why didn't you just say this? This tutorial guide is actually really great. I generally don't like to play the tutorial guides in board games. I like to just read the rules and jump in, but this was super helpful. I was having a blast going through it. I kept going, and then out of nowhere, in the middle of my immersion, me learning, I get to this notes right here. Very important note. This example is continued in the PDF available at chipdairygames.com/support. I've noticed this being a trend in a few games I've gotten, and I find it so annoying. I want all of the rules and charts in front of me, under me, above me, in the cave below me. I do acknowledge that it might add weight to the box, cost more, or other backend problems that are real and need solving. I just don't want the problem put on me. I want to purchase the game and have it all in front of me. Now the Gazetteers. I wanted to like these, but I just didn't like them too much. They were a little too fiddly. Let me give you some examples. So you have these quests on the pages, which is great. Gives you all of the information about the quests, but a lot of these will change the rules and how you're playing. And you would think, okay, let's just keep this out on the page and the quest we're on. And also, when you finish one quest and go to the next, you kind of have to go to the next page and then kind of have to remember where you were at there. And there's also branching paths. So not a big deal if you get to stay on this one page, right? Wrong. Now, the other important thing of the Gazetteers is all of the towns right here. You have this town and this one and this one, and you are going to be visiting these towns just often enough where you can't actually stay in your guild quest. So now you're going to have to put a bookmark or something in. Where's our upgraded bookmarks, Chip Theory? You have overland mechanics right here. There's a lot of information about how the overland map works. And this also you want to reference a lot when you forget it because it has a lot of important information. And there are times where you will forget like one sentence or two sentences within here, but it does matter. So not only are you flipping from the overland mechanics over to a town, over back to where was the quest again, were we on the right part, it can kind of get a little fiddly back and forth. Here's the real problem. The Cyrodiil Gazetteer right here has these overland factions that when they're in control, they change all of the town actions. So let's say if you're going to this town, you now have to go look at your map, see which faction's in charge. You normally would see everything that you have available here, but now you have to go all the way back up to the front, see what changes, go back to the town page, see what changes again, see which stuff is available, see stuff which is not available, which can be really annoying. So doing this for one town is not a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and show you an example I had. So here's the overland map for Cyrodiil. We have Daggerfall Covenant as the dominant faction right now, but our party marker is right here. We get to move a couple of spaces, but here's the problem with the book, right? So you have Bruma, Chalman Keep, Imperial City, and Fort Ash that we can go to, but now we have to go back to the book. So we now go to the book, we see Bruma, all the town actions, but wait, we have to go to see what the Daggerfall Covenant does. So we go right here, we see which town actions are not available, then we have to go pick another place. There was the Chalman Keep, so then we go to the Chalman Keep, we see all the options that we can get there, but nope, once again, we have to go back to see the Daggerfall Covenant. You can memorize them if you want, but you can see how all this flipping back and forth is pretty tedious. I don't know what the best answer for this type of thing is, but I just see the problem. Gotta love Virgos. We interrupt this program now to show you how to cook rice. Do not do this without adult supervision unless if you are above the age of 125. Step 1 is wash your hands. Three French. Place your pot on the stove. Add 2 cups of water. Take your stove and set the heat number. I'm setting mine to about 8, and I'm going to set the timer for 9 minutes. I'm going to wait until it boils. Once you see the water bubbling, the next parts are very important. You're going to add in 1 cup of rice right here. Spread it out. You want to then cover that cup or this pot right here. You want to cover it. And the next part is, don't forget to turn the heat down very low. I'm going to put mine between 2 and low. And then you set the timer for 20 minutes. Go ahead and set the timer to 20. Now it's very important not to remove the lid from the pot. Just let it cook for 20 minutes or else it ruins the whole process. When the 20 minutes is up, you want to turn off the oven right here, turn off the timer, remove the pot, but don't take off the lid yet, like that. And then you're going to go ahead and set the timer for 5 minutes. This is important. After the 5 minutes, you can reveal the lid and enjoy. All right, we're about to have the 5-minute timer be up. Go ahead and remove the lid, and you're ready to enjoy. stalwart again? Oh.
Now it's time for a quick sprint of complaining.
Or how the save trays don't really work because they have slots up here, but not for these two spots. Or for how this scenario, the Breton Bandit and the Breton Marauder need to be out at the same time, but it's on the same token. Or how the tutorial guide on the back of it is the only place to have the game phases as a quick reference. Why no card? Or how the two different delves are kind of confusing. You have survey and uncover. Now, this game has a lot of great moments. I remember I was playing up to 2 in the morning. I saw that I had a peaceful event landmark that my party token could land on. So I was like, okay, I can resolve this and then pack it up and go to sleep. So the card is called Peace and Quiet. I flipped it over and it took me a moment to realize that this card was actually humorous. It actually makes you do a clash fight. So then, fate be bound, I did the clash fight. It took about an hour, but every last minute of that sleep depravity was worth it. Thank you, Chip Derry. Or that time when I was in the heat of the battle, drew a legendary item card. It's a spectral chicken, and I just couldn't crack up because it said cock-a-doodle boo. As you can tell, the complaints are honestly quite light. I want to end with this. Has Chip Derry Games gone too far? No. I don't think they went far enough. I can feel the team's passion, heart, humor, and their joy. I find that special when playing a board game. And I know other people do too. I don't think they've made their magnum opus just yet, but I'll be here when they do. Make a legacy game. For those who need a number, 10 out of 10. This review got me quite tired. Time to go to sleep. Are the blankets done drying?
No, they're not done drying yet.
Ooh, I know what to do. Let's see what we got here. Can be used as a rug? No. Can be used as a blanket. Aha! Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Good night. Now, where is that how to pack your box sheet? Maybe I do need it.